Good evening. Welcome back to Around the Pit. My name's Toffees. You can find me at Toffees TV. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Toffees or just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. As always, you can find it here on YouTube or on iTunes as a podcast under Coffee W/Toffees. Around the Pit, episode 17, starting right now. Big shout out to our sponsors, Razer, Asus, Republic of Gamers, and of course, Pro-Built Systems, who without them, we wouldn't have a show as my computer exploded and they provided the new one that allows us to be producing this content right now. But let's talk about why you guys are here, and that is our guest tonight, who are going to have some good insights for us as we get this show on the road. So let's introduce them to you as we go right across the top of the screen, your left, my right. First up is Gabriel. You may know him as Lyrical. I know him as the Gangsta. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I think I broke the show a little bit earlier, so I'm sorry about that one. Hopefully I don't get deducted too many points, but I'm excited.
My sound broke at the same time, so you are totally golden, and it was just fortuitous or unfortuitous, if that's a word, depending on how you look at it. Our second guest is none other than Matt Damon 2.0, a guy who used to go by Ryuu Uberus, and just like Lyrical, decided that name was just too damn long, came up with Ryuu instead, and has chosen to join us here tonight. How are you doing tonight, Ryuu?
It feels good to be unmuted so I can actually talk now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm having a fun time. I'm gone. I see how it is.
I couldn't resist it. It had to be done.
I know.
Well,
it's great to be here, man.
I know that you've had a pretty busy week. A lot of casting going on between the Summit and Nanyang and all these different tournaments going on. So I appreciate you taking time out of all of your busy schedules to be here to join us. Now, last but not least, all the way to the end, she used to be in the middle, but a change of cameras stuck her on the side. It is a resident cosplay expert. I heard she's got a couple good ones coming together for TI, an expert on the pro gaming scene, as well as a content creator in her own right, none other than Reinessa Gaming, not Reinessa Dodo. You can find her over there on Twitter. How you doing tonight, Reinessa?
I'm pretty good. I'm glad I'm not blue anymore. I was blue earlier today.
Wow. Oh, because did you paint? Did you paint yourself for the AA cosplay?
Yeah, for AA, I went full whitish blue, and when getting dressed for the show, I realized that my neck was still completely white and blended in with my shirt, so I had to do round two.
Nice. Now, I think you put up, and this is an off topic, we'll just do this real quick. You put up a post earlier this week, and I thought you mentioned that you didn't like doing body paint for cosplays and didn't refuse to do it. What made you do it for the AA one instead?
Well, one, for AA, you can't tell what I am to begin with, so it needs all the help it can get. But two, Beastmaster taught me how unforgiving it can be. And so Storm was such a brilliant, bright color that, one, without a second person to apply it, it doesn't look that good. And two, without actually being at an event and just sitting here sweating from my stream, not worth.
Definitely. I can totally respect that. All right, so my cosplay questions out of the way. Let's talk rules very briefly, guys. The game is simple. We run for about 5 topics, 45 minutes, start to finish. You get 8 to 11 minutes per topic. When you hear this sound, that's the buzzer, and it means we're done talking. That's really the only rule to obey in terms of just don't ignore the buzzer. Also, at any point during the show, if there's a topic that you feel like you got cut off on, you want to say a little more, you just want to say something off the wall, every single competitor gets a 1-minute soapbox they can use whenever they want from the time we say go to the end of the show, and they can get points during that soapbox. So it is a chance to redeem yourself. What are the points? Well, mostly they're arbitrary, but the reason we have them is the winner gets the Aegis. It's right behind me. It goes to the person who won, and that means that they can choose to come back for any show that they would like. So if they see me tweet and say, hey, here's my guest today, and let's say they just want to go to war with that guy, feel free to cash in your Aegis, come on back and speak your mind. Or if a big topic happened that week, we've seen a lot of Aegises used that way as well. So guys, good luck, have fun. Let's enjoy ourselves. Remember, interruptions, all of that good stuff is highly encouraged. Let's jump right into it. The first topic, the fun name that I put together is Aloha by Any Other Name Plays Just As Sweet. And this is in reference to what happened today, or allegedly, Virtus Pro allegedly brought in no one for Aloha due to a connection problem. The problem that we have apparently, or explain this to me. Why is this a #1 post on Reddit? Why is it being investigated by BTS? What makes this such an egregious offense?
I think the biggest issue with this, and I was watching the cast when it happened, is that VP insists that he's coming back, and then his account comes back. So we don't know whether it's him or not. And stand-ins are allowed. Stand-ins are perfectly acceptable for something like this. So I think the issue is that why wouldn't you just announce that you have a stand-in? Teams might draft differently if they know who's playing and if they know who that player is. So yes, having a stand-in puts you at a disadvantage because you don't have the team synergy in the practice. But if you don't divulge that you have a stand-in, that's taking an unfair advantage.
I think also the other thing is I cut off Ryuu. Great stuff already from the start. Is that it's also Vega were signed up for this tournament. So they were a team that had already added him onto the roster for Vega Squadron, and then they brought in this guy. So not only was it deception, it was also literally against the rules that you can't end up bringing him back there. And I think that to me is the big issue, because you can't have like, it just opens up the territory where you can start bringing in other players if you end up losing, and then you have to, draft differently, like Reinessa was saying. And so that's to me the big issue.
Yeah, that was another big issue for me. I was going to say the same thing, where you have somebody who's already played in the tournament and you can't have that person still stand in for another team in the future. That's a big no-no. And then on top of things, like Reinessa said, you are allowed stand-ins in a lot of tournaments because they're online. People get sick all the time, vacation, whatnot. So you're always able to use somebody else, but why hide it? There's no point in the sense of hiding something that should be visible for everyone to know. And I think it's going to cost them a lot here.
Okay. So you think that BTS, if BTS comes back and says it's true, we agree with the evidence and we're disqualifying them, are they making the right choice, or is that the best action for them to take?
I think so. I think it's the best action. You can't just hide things. If it sets a bad example for everybody else, they can just use whoever they want whenever they want. And that just, we had the rules earlier. We're going to talk about it later with Kato Guy, putting those in. I mean, rules are rules for a reason there, and you're going behind people's back. And to top it off too, it's like, there was a tweet coming out. Me and Kato Guy were actually discussing it too. It's like FNG, he tweeted it out like to Kato Guy himself. It's like, no big problem, right? And all of a sudden he's actually going behind Kato Guy's back and getting another player. That's kind of shady in my eyes.
I think it depends on what the proof is. To be honest, the Reddit point about switching where your boot position is resonates really strongly with me, because I never changed my item positioning, but I've seen Theben play and he does change his item positioning depending on what role he's playing. So that is really compelling evidence for those of us who play our pubs all the time and have our habits. But I could see a pro player changing, because some people think of it more about which item is their priority, and they have priority slots, and they think about it less as which hotkey is my boots. So that would come down to individual player, but it would really come down to what the proof was, because a Reddit thread of a random fan who says, wow, I never switched my item positioning, or this guy played differently right now, I don't think is sufficient. The
problem that happened is he had DC'd from the game, and he immediately was in the lobby right afterwards, right? And that's not humanly possible. You would have immediately joined the game as it was ending. So that lets you know there was something very fishy from the get-go.
The other thing there was that people said that he was streaming and that he said he needed to go and switch to VP. So that's kind of like, well, all right, what's going to really happen there? The other issue that I'm kind of curious about is I think that you could make the case that possibly no one didn't realize that he wasn't supposed to stand in, but I'm kind of curious going forward with Vega if that makes them look, there's a little bit of shade their way as well. Probably nothing is going to come of that, but it is something where like a little bit shady on both ends. Probably shouldn't have done that. It's going to end up coming back and biting VP more than anybody else if it does end up coming about anything there. But the other issue is sort of, as far as things that come of this, I feel like unless it's really clear, if it's clearly stated in the rules what should happen, then that should happen no matter what it is. Even if it's just replay the series and that's like the lowest possible punishment. I don't think you should try and get sort of looking for the proper justice in this situation, which would probably just be Ad Finem moving on to the summit. I think that you should, if it's scheduled out in the rules, follow the rules no matter what.
That's the same situation with ESL and why Empire were able to go there, even though it was like scorned upon by everybody in the community, even myself. I think that was the shadiest thing, having 5 just random players, but it was in the rules. It was tied to the organization and not the players. And this is kind of, if it's the rules are rules, and if, like Lyrical was saying, that's if they need to replay the best of 5, they should still do that. But it's still a lot of shade under this.
Now let me ask you this, and I'll admit I'm not great at the TOS for Valve. I don't read all that fine print, but isn't there something in the TOS about not playing on somebody else's account as just a rule for Dota 2 and Steam usage in general? Or is that something that I'm completely imagining?
I don't know about that. That
I
might
guess
be a thing.
it's a discussion to have. I guess none of us know, because none of us would ever give our account to anybody else. But it's something to consider.
There are situations in which like an account can be bugged or hotkeys can be messed up. I feel like I remember something recently where someone just used someone else's account because theirs got messed up in a hot swap or something like that. So that would be where admins know about it, everybody knows about it, playing on someone else. I don't know what example I'm thinking of, but that's one where it's all out in the
Okay, Ryan's actually telling me that that's a Blizzard thing, and that apparently I play too much Blizzard and I'm crossing them in Valve. So don't hate me, Valve, but it's something to consider. It's in the Blizzard rules. Anyway, any last?
It's a valid rule.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have a comment on this as well. This is one of those things where it might not be in the rules because it might not even be something that you think of, since stand-ins are allowed. Why would you ever hide a stand-in? So if it's not in the rules, I wonder if BTS would go to Ad Finem and ask them, or if BTS would just make a ruling against Virtus Pro. Because it seems like our tendencies, even with what Coddle did with the pause, is to ask the other team, well, what do you want? You're the one who was wronged.
Right.
And in that case, I think Ad Finem would say replay the series, because any other answer makes it look like they're scared.
I don't think that they're going to do that, though. I don't think that I don't think that BTS would put that back on the players, because then it puts them in a situation where it's the exact same situation with the pause. Yeah, it's
copping out. You have rules for a reason, and then you just can't give too much leverage. It's like saying, well, can we use your 10 minutes to wait for our player when we don't even know if he's able to come back in the situation, and it's not how the rules are intended.
But if there aren't rules and specifically saying what the situation should be, I don't think even in that case you can give it over to Ad Finem. I think that you have to make the ruling as an organization.
Makes sense. And I think that, I don't know if you guys have read, Gorgon the Wonder Cow did a write-up on, I think it was PvP Live, maybe, about the importance of lands in the current market. And you have to say, like, if you go to those players and you say, hey, Ad Finem, we think you should play it again, but you don't have to choose that option, and here's one of the major lands happening before TI, can you really expect them to say, yeah, we'll do the cool thing, versus, no, we'll take the forfeit and go to a LAN?
Gamer pride is a powerful thing.
That is true. God, I would... Oh, maybe
that is kind of the end-all be-all, is what it seems like. And getting to a LAN based on another team's mistake is not how you want to get there. So I can't imagine them. It's the smart thing. It's what we would do. No shame at all. Selfish to the end, but...
Weren't they winning before they switched him out, though? I didn't watch all of the
It's actually, it was a situation where they were actually starting to lose. They lost 2 big team fights, but it was still a very close game.
Okay.
And just this whole thing is really hard to say, because I know I've met the guys on LAN at We Play, and it was really fun meeting them. And I know they're all great individual, people here. So it's really hard for me to say that, hey, yeah, they wouldn't do that best of 5 over again, just so because they're nice people and they don't want to just take the easy way. At the same time, they're tired of losing. They are seriously tired of losing, getting to these best of 5 situations, qualifying or not qualifying. It's heartbreaking. So it's like you take the easy way or you don't.
So that's all the time we have for this topic. I do want to state this. Iggy, one of my moderators for the show, went and looked up the TOS just so that we can have the correct information to relay to you guys who are listening to the podcast and can't read chat. And the TOS says, quote, you may not reveal, share, or otherwise allow others to use your password or account except as otherwise specifically authorized by Valve. So that's the rules in the TOS. Do you guys think, and I'll ask you this real quick, does that have any bearing on this decision? The fact that Valve would say that's not okay if that happened?
No.
I think that has
I can understand it, but I mean, players share accounts all the time. Like, I think don't like Blitz and Arteezy share a Smurf account. Like, I don't know.
Also, I'm sure that not everyone plays their low prio games. Let's be real.
I know a lot of situations where people help like their girlfriends or boosting accounts and stuff, and they haven't done anything about it from Valve, so they can't even take an action on this right now when they can't even fix boosting accounts and all that. So yeah, it's kind of ridiculous to even think about that their policy is like that, even though certain things are allowed to happen.
All right, well, let's move on to the next topic at the interest of time. That ended up being more interesting than I expected it to be, and you sort of brought it up. This may not take the full time frame, but I do want to bring it up. The idea of heavy is the coddle that wears the crown. Coddle Guy had the, I don't want to say the privilege, the luck, the disluck, or the unluckiness of being the admin in charge of this particular game. He enforced the rules and forced the 4v5 until the next game when, the sort of switch out happened. And he started to receive death threats, apparently, from people who are betting. I don't even know what to say about this other than, what are your thoughts? Is this something that you guys have heard of happening in the past? This is the first time this has happened. Will this scare admins from enforcing the rules in the future? What do you think of this?
What's a death threat from the internet? I mean, how many have we all gotten? Like, you're going to get them for different reasons. They're concerning, potentially. They maybe make you a little more private with your information, potentially, but are they scary? No, a 14-year-old, up in their room after dinner is not really a scary thing for enforcing rules, I think.
So to clarify, you've had death threats because of the internet?
I have not had death. I have had other threats.
Yeah.
I've never got any. I just get called fat a lot. So
I understand. It's not scary, but it's just like, it's so shitty, and it's so, I mean, you get things on Twitter, you pop up on TweetDeck, and you can go for the mute button to like put something away so that you're not seeing it. But even just like knowing that it's out there, it's the thing that's frustrating about it is more so that I think that having public figures as admins is the problem, not admins as a whole, because a lot of the admins, nobody knows who they are, so they're not going to know about the person who made the ruling. There's going to be like, oh, stupid tournament, and then they, death threat beyond the summit because they don't understand that's an institution and not a person because they're dumb. But like, I think that the thing that's, it just like, it sucks ass, and I really don't like that that's the way that it went. And I don't know, maybe you need to think about having like an email verification or something for betting sites. But that's also going to give you less of a competitive advantage in a space that's wide open for betting to take place, and then nobody's going to bet on your site, and then it doesn't matter anyways. So it just kind of sucks.
Well, so I'm assuming you've had to admin. I mean, it's not something I've had to do. Maybe Coddle Guy should have just lied, pretended there's an admin. I mean, people don't know. He should be like, oh yeah, I'm talking to the admin. This is what they say. And you can always do that. You can pretend that the admin is anonymous and feel very free to enforce the rules because you don't have anyone over
That's a
your back.
possibility.
Coddle Guy's a man. He's got balls. He's gonna strut them out there. He'll say he fucked up or, stubbed up anything. It's a situation. So I like the way he does things. He's a man, and he'll take the consequences. Now I want to reference something. It's like if you have 100 compliments, but you have one that's horrible, you're always gonna remember that one horrible comment. And that's that death threat, and that's probably the next level, right? It's not just an insult; it's to the next level. Of course, he's going to remember that for a while now, and it's just showing how childish and our community is, especially having now the betting problems. We have Twitch problems now; we're having betting problems with people death threats. It's very concerning. But you obviously, like Reinessa says, you don't have to be too concerned because people are just doing this because they want to win or they just want attention or something. It's just not how you should go about doing things, though.
I think what's really nice is that it's very clear when someone is being transparent. And we as a community really appreciate that. So, I mean, within moments, there's a front page Reddit thread, and okay, we hate most Reddit threads, but this one said, "Thank you, Coddle Guy, for telling us what was going on, and for enforcing the rules, and for doing what you're supposed to do." We all want to bend the rules for people we like, but I think that no one can truly believe that when rules are enforced, it's a bad thing. They can be annoyed about it, but they will understand that those are the rules and that's what you have to do. So while he may have had something obnoxious happen, he does still get a large positive feedback, affirming that he did the right thing and then incentivizing it for the future.
Isn't it interesting that on the internet and in esports, you do your job and you get posts on Reddit that either hate you or congratulate. Like when I go to McDonald's or Subway and they make me a sandwich, I'm not like, "You, sir, are an amazing sandwich artist," or "I'm gonna fucking kill you, sandwich artist." It's just weird how it's so polar comparatively to like how the job is.
Say that before you get food poisoning. Say that now, and then afterwards.
I not only that, but also that affects your future job possibilities as well.
That's a good point.
Which also really sucks. So you got to learn how to play the system.
When Reddit is your resume.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true. It's very true. I mean, I'll come out onto a little box for a second and say I did a cast once and I was I had been up for too long and it was terrible and it didn't go well. And I got a 3 front page posts, and I couldn't get a casting job for 4 months afterwards. And it happens. It's a really tough side of the business. So I guess a lot of times I see us crapping on people for putting up, shout out threads, but at the same time, you sort of need those. Those are a great resume booster for these casters and these personalities who are trying to make it in the business. So that's pretty. I guess I can support that side of the polarization. Just stop the damn death threats, people.
Well, another thing that people don't realize is if you're truly selfish and you want a certain thing, then actually making a positive thread about what you liked is significantly more effective than a negative thread about what you didn't like. Because if you say what you like, so say there's a caster who has who has amazing play-by-play, but tells personal stories. If we go back to the meme hate from months ago,
Lyrical.
you can post a thread that says, "I love their play-by-play and the little analysis they do after that." And instead of saying, "I hate when they tell stories," you're telling them what do they like. And when a caster reads that and goes, "Oh, people like this, I'll do it more." You limit the bad things and you incentivize the good things. So I think shout out threads are actually significantly more effective in getting what you want because people shut out negative and they listen to positive.
Well, and it also seems like we should encourage. We're all part of the community. All of us read the goddamn site, whether or not we love it. Use your upvotes, right? If you go to a thread and it's the top comments taking shits on people, you can try to fight that by upvoting the other ones that are not. And that's where I think that there is an onus on all of us to make Reddit a better place instead of just bitching about how Reddit's not an okay place. Because honestly, I've looked at other games and I've covered some other stuff recently, and our Reddit is less toxic than a lot of the places that I've been to in the last 3 months. So it is what it is. That's enough. Fuck talking about Reddit. Let's move on to the next topic. We did Coddle. We did Aloha. I want to talk about groups that make sure we have enough time to get into this. This is the Manila group stages were announced. You guys should know the groups. Let me what is it? Manila groups. Pull them up real quick. What I want to know is, which ones are you looking at? Which ones do you think are the group of death? Which one's going to be the easiest run for a team, and which one's going to be the most fun to watch?
Ooh, that is a lot of questions all at once for me. But
so let's start with group of death. Let's say, which one do you think is the traditional, as they would say in soccer, group of death?
My money is, I really think that B is strong, but there's a little bit of uncertainty there just based off of Team Secret and Navi. My inkling is that that's going to be the strongest group when they come out of it. But right now, for me, it's A. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
I tweeted this 2-3 days ago, so I can't go back on my tweet now. I said Group B, I felt was the strongest group because I feel the potential there is way higher, and I think Wings have been performing top notch. I can see them easily finishing top 3. I can see DC finishing top 3, top 4 as well, just because of how they've put complexity in their place and they keep on getting stronger. And complexity was, no pushovers at the last major. So it's very, and then you have Secret, who's not performing well, but they've been training nonstop for the last, 2-3 weeks or so. So eventually they're going to hit their stride, and I can see them finishing, top 6. Maybe they'll be like the 6th cutoff or something. But I just think this group, for me personally, is going to shine, even though other people think maybe like A or C is strong.
Okay. Do you think that group is going to be polarized, like easy top 2, easy bottom 2? Or is Wings and Na'Vi going to really just catch everybody off guard?
Group B doesn't seem like the polarizing group. Na'Vi is too much of a wild card, and Wings have shown way too much skill and cohesion to just write them off as a pushover or anything. I would say Group D is the polarized group. LGD perform unbelievable. I mean, you can never discount them, despite the fact that we haven't seen them that much lately, and China went through its slump. The fact that China went through its slump, and you have LGD with Zhao 8 is captain again, right? I'm not making that up. You have LGD with Zhao 8. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And then EG is going to be on form at a Valve event. Like, again, they have their slump, but when Valve events come around, that seems like the most polarized group. Those two teams are just way too terrifying.
I'll give you that. Okay.
I actually thought Group D was like the easiest group. Like, Mineski is one of the... Mineski is like the weakest link in this tournament, probably. I don't know if anybody else would disagree, or there's another team here that's probably the weakest. And then afterwards, MVP, it seems like their playstyle is, go, 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 but some teams have figured them out, some teams haven't. LGD, yes, they've put up some good runs against the other Chinese teams, but I don't think they're as strong. And I honestly do think that DC straight up best of 5 against EG would like 3-1 or 3-0 them right now. So I
they're on form.
Yeah.
Well, I think what I want to do is potentially take a point away from you, because you're just agreeing with what Reinessa said. Because she said it's the most polarized, right? So it's easy top, easy bottom.
Right. Yeah, my bad.
So that's that was not. It was a nice repeat of what she said. And we think you're right. EG and LGD are going to look really good. Now, are there any of these, when you look at these groups, do you see like sleepers that you expect to sort of come through and surprise us all? I think Digital Chaos, we'll talk about Digital Chaos individually later, because they are a totally different game right now in terms of where we expected them to be. But when you look at this, is Vici Gaming Reborn or Alliance got a chance of taking, who's advancing?
I think Fnatic for Group C might be one of the underdogs that people are going to count out. I think that Vici Gaming Reborn, they looked good. They play solid Dota, but to me, they're like newbie light in terms of the way that they play, which is just very solid, hitting timings, but not quite as crisp as what we saw from them. That being said, they did struggle in the Summit 5 qualifiers, so that's a tough one. But I think Fnatic have looked completely dominant in Southeast Asia. The other sort of underdog team that I think is going to do better than people are expecting them to is going to be Complexity again. Even though they've been really struggling against DC, to me, all of those matches that they played were within like a 2 to 3 day period where Complexity were getting ready for Manila. We were in the lobby with some of them, and it felt like there was like a lot of sort of being on tilt. And that, to me, those series felt like it was DC in their head more than anything else. And I feel like if they can come into Group A feeling better and then try and build momentum from there, then they start looking better than people are expecting, given
they weren't even they were like complaining about the groups too, like what is going on. 3 of the people coming in from the top 3 coming in from the LAN event there in Moscow, they're like, what is going on here? Why are we all in the same group? So yeah, like you said, he was tilted during that series, tilted when the groups came out, but the epicenter for that LAN.
So when you look at Group A, because you're bringing it up, so I just want to focus on it a little bit more. You've got OG, for those of you who maybe are listening on the podcast. Group A is OG, Empire, Newbie, and Complexity. That's a pretty stacked grouping. And Lyrical, you brought up Complexity could do it. The problem is Newbie and Team Empire have looked really good, and OG has been, I guess, coming back on to point for me. Do you think that they'll be ready to give Empire and Newbie a run? And where does Complexity find that spot inside of those 3 teams?
I think it's Newbie that they have to beat out, and they have prepared a lot for Newbie. So I saw Mop Packs over in the chat just a little while ago. He was doing a lot of work trying to figure out the Newbie drafts. I know about that, and I think that OG is really the strongest out of those teams. When they were at Epicenter, they looked unbelievably good, and I think that Newbie have been having a little bit of confidence issues. There's something going on there because they haven't looked as crisp as they did previously. They lost like a 2-0 or something. They lost 2-0, I think, twice in a row to Wings, at least once. And granted, Wings has looked like the most improved team for me, but I think that Complexity can beat out Newbie, and I think that they'll beat out Empire too.
I think what's really strong about Complexity is they're reminiscent of EG in the fact that they do usually adapt very well in drafts. Where when I watch Empire and OG, I honestly do not feel like they adapt well. I feel like they come in with their strategies and they don't move around other people's. Whereas with Complexity, there's something about them when they get on LAN. I mean, we see Swindles in front of the camera a lot, and he's like shining, just exuding confidence and everything. And I feel like when this team gets on LAN, they feel like they can do anything, and they seem to adapt remarkably well within series from day to day for the teams that they face. And so I think that their ability to change makes them very terrifying as opposed to these other teams, which I think are more predictable.
And so you also would chalk up their passion, their love, the fact that they eat being at LANs, like as an internal power source to their ability to sort of play better. Okay.
Wins. I think that the skill level is so high right now. Sure, strategies are fine, but, and I talked about this on the last show, how well your team gets along with each other and where your mind is, I think has much more to do with whether or not you win. Because you have to trust people and work with them.
I personally feel like DC's just got in their head too much, and I think they're just going to underperform in this tournament now. And they're just Newbie or Team Empire OG are just going to look at these games and just say, okay, well, we have the formula to beat Complexity. And I do see them finishing maybe third, if not fourth in this group. It's just a very hard group for them to actually succeed in, just because of the fact that everyone is amazing in this group. And it's a situation where, like, yeah, Group A might even be the strongest group here if you're not going for like the bold predictions. Like all four of these teams are probably more solid than Group B because just we haven't seen Navi and Secret, perform as well as, some of the teams from Group A.
Okay. So it seems to me like there might be other groups, in your opinions, that are the easy picks for fighting, but this one's sort of the anybody could come out of it, a lot of fun to watch, keep an eye on.
Yeah, the other aspect of Group A is Cole has played a lot of games recently. A lot. I feel like Cole has probably played the most out of all of these teams.
I feel like Newbie has. I disagree with that. I don't know.
I've just seen a lot of Cole for my time zone and everything. But it feels like they've played more than Empire and OG, I guess. I always feel like a lot of NA teams, just because they're not as invited as often and stuff like that, you see more games coming out from them, and that puts them at a huge disadvantage, to be honest. They don't have as much time for the private scrims, and then everything that they're playing is visible all the time. So they go to a LAN and they have a lot less, they don't have the prep time that Secret had. They've been playing all these qualifiers where Secret has, now I know different groups, but where Secret has had time to just practice and prepare. And Cole has had to prepare for all these other series, and now they're going to Manila, and it's a very fast turnaround.
All right, so that's the time for our topic. I will say I gave both of you a point, Ryuu and Reinessa, because I think the point you were making is that Complexity and Newbie have played an astronomical amount of games as opposed to sort of Empire and OG's displayed games that everybody else is watching and what they're doing. The question is, will that help or hurt? It seems like in Complexity's case, maybe it's been causing them more trouble than helping them because of the fact that, like you said, they seem sort of off their game lately. Speaking of them being off their game, or maybe somebody else being amazingly on their game, let's talk about Digital Fortress. Digital Chaos has looked solid. They're now going to the Summit 5, to Nanyang, to Starladder I-League. Like, this has been an amazing run for a team that a lot of us, when the shuffle happened and they sort of got Bulba ripped away and had to patch the holes on the ship very quickly, wondered how it would go. They're kicking ass and taking names. What are you seeing? Why is it happening? Is it going to hold out for the long term?
This was I think that when the changes first came out, the secret EG and DC roster shuffle, some people initially thought, oh god, DC are dead, but then they realized, holy crap, Weeha, Misery, you've got Soxa now that's going to hop in there. There was already a guy who wanted that they wanted for Digital Chaos. Moo also probably the top performing player out of that Archon squad. I feel like he was like the star player. This to me, actually, I think a lot of people at the end of it realized they might have ended up coming out ahead. And the real question was, I mean, they had 2 out of the 5 Shanghai Major winners on their squad now. I think that there's a ton of individual talent. It came down to them gelling and them having the team house now double downs upon that. They're going to be able to, spend more time together, build that chemistry that Reinessa was talking about previously. And that's something that's really important. To me, every single player on that team was a superstar in the Complexity series that we casted the other day.
Absolutely. Bonus points, by the way, because I do think that Moo is one of the most underrated talents in Dota, and you bringing that up is very strong, or was 3 months ago. What do you guys think? Digital Fortress, Digital Chaos, are they breakable, or are they going to be the be-all, end-all?
I think they're very easily breakable.
Ooh.
One, we've seen them play a million games.
True.
And I was looking through the drafts earlier. I was a little curious. I haven't seen the most flexibility. Who knows?
I disagree with that completely.
They are winning against Cole. I don't know.
They pick Meepo. They actually pick Meepo. They pick Alchemist. They pick anything. They pick Huskar. They pick every single thing out there.
Batrider and
they pick every
Doom
single thing.
and Beastmaster. Like every game, they always have this BKB piercing controller. They have I think that their strategy.
One here. It's like picking Phoenix every game, right? You pick Phoenix, but that doesn't make you a different.
No, it wasn't the Phoenix every game. I was looking at the BKB piercing disables and the controlling supports.
Right. So I'm saying if you pick Phoenix every single game, but you pick 4 different heroes every different game, that still makes you a diverse team. You're just keeping the one most OP hero on the team.
But their style of play is not vastly different each game. Now it's working against Cole every time, but it to me looks like they're hitting the same timings. They're picking the very similar roles, which is how teams work. But I think that when someone who is better than me at analyzing games sits down and looks at them, I think they're going to be fairly easy to pick apart. And I think another thing is they've put a lot of pressure on themselves with this winning streak. And I think it's very hard to take a winning streak like that and have any setback and come back from that, because you are so used to that high of winning. I think it is very challenging to take any kind of setback and come back from that. And I think that their group is going to present them with a lot of challenges. I don't think they have the experience to go against Wings, personally. I think Na'Vi will be a little easier for them since BC is basically European. They're a little more used to it.
Okay. It's a fair opinion. Ryuu, do you have a thought?
I honestly believe they are one of the most diverse teams going into this. They've used so many different heroes in the Complexity series as test subjects, and they've actually won a lot of them. So it's like I talked about the Weepo, the Weeponed. I mean, they busted out whenever they want.
You only play one team. When you only get used
but
to
they pick Elder Titan, they pick anything, and they completely crush Complexity in some of these matches. The thing is, they play Complexity, they play close matches, they win, they play stomps on them, and they win. So it's very concerning for Complexity, and I actually think Complexity is one-dimensional. Swindles in the off lane, he only really plays Darkseer and and Beastmaster. He doesn't have the
Are you kidding me? Come on now. What are you talking about?
All right, what is
so flexible. They switch around who plays what heroes. They change.
That's just the mid lane, though. Like, sure,
he played more Axe. He played Darkseer. He played Nature's Prophet. He played.
It's a dead hero.
Dead hero. Nature's Prophet's not dead hero. Get out of here.
Dead hero. If anybody picks Nature's Prophet and they win, I will eat a sock. No, I'm just kidding.
No, he's eating a sock. He said he was going to say sock, but you stopped at saw, so you got to eat a sock right now.
We've switched over to talking about Complexity again. DC, the one thing that I would say, and the reason why I think that they're going to be really hard to beat out, is because yes, Mu does not play a ton of different heroes, Mu particularly. And I think that's what Reinessa was talking about.
He
Hold
plays
up.
freaking Clockwork,
I
second
know.
pick Clockwork, and
He
they
does
win
play
the
second
game.
where Clockwork.
No,
That's
this is
fine.
actually
That's fine.
You realize they pick Clockwork second pick. No other team in the world would do that, and they win. Actually, Easy would do that if they had Universe, and they might win. But that's
Okay.
not.
Hold up. Here, 1 second. Slow your roll, Mr. Lipstick Boy. All right, we're talking about something else for a second now. So what we've got is that Nature's Prophet, he picks him, they play Sand King, that's fine. His core heroes that he goes to are like the Clockwork, the Darkseer, and the Doom, I feel like. And the problem is that all of the
Anybody can play Beastmaster in Dota right now.
I know, but you ban it out anyways. I'm with you here. I'm saying that DC are good, but the problem is that it's all of the other heroes. So you can ban out Mu heroes, but then you have to deal with the Meepo, the Meepone, whatever the hell it is. You have to deal with the stuff that they're bringing from Misery, because all of the players that he plays as a position 5 are like awesome. He runs the town even with a ban.
CM Ultimates, he carries his team. Coddle. I mean, this is the only team in the world that picks Coddle. This is like the only team in the world that picks Clockwork. If you're asking for a more diverse team in the world, you're not going to find one besides Wing.
What I was saying is I'm trying to pull it together.
All right.
Is that I think that they do have a style that they like out of Mu, a style of Dota that they like out of Mu, which is telegraphed. But it doesn't matter because all of the other heroes that they play are incredibly diverse.
I think that there's also something to be said about a new team and being excited as well. I think we saw that with OG and their insane performance initially because they were new and they had very strong team chemistry and cohesion and a lot of ideas. So that's also possible for DC. I just really feel like their style of play is immensely predictable. Their tempo and the types of heroes they like to pick. Just because one player plays 5 or 6 different heroes does not mean it's not the same exact hero over and over again. Look at Puppy back at DAC. He had a hero pool. It was 4 or 5 heroes. He played a bunch of heroes. They all did the exact same thing. Sustained pushing with low cooldowns. That was all of his hero pool for DAC. And teams do that all the time. And I think DC's is very obvious that they're doing that.
I completely disagree just because you can't even put that in the same boat just because of what Misery does. He picks a different hero every single time. They pick even ET. They pick all the meta heroes too, like ES, Bounty Hunter, anything that floats their boat, they will pick it for the support position and they'll change it up at any times. And when Lyrical's talking about how Mu likes to play Doom and Clockwork, those are 2 completely different heroes by nature. One super aggressive, and then one is actually you can farm for the later stages of the game or just be the frontline beast. They're completely different play styles for all of these different heroes that Mu does play. And then we've seen Resolution just play any hero. Like he's played Clinks, he plays Lycan, he plays all the carries that like anybody can play Sin. It's just their hero pool is almost as diverse as Wings and OG. So it's very hard for me to sit here and say like Complexity has the edge in that, whereas I see all of their games and Complexity they're one-trick ponies. They try to pick Tiny for like Limp, and then
I'm saying other teams in DC's group have the edge.
Okay, so Wings has the edge, but then Secret and Navi are still not as strong as them potentially. It's like a toss-up a little bit there to see if Secret.
Group of death.
Okay. Fair. Anybody last thoughts on this particular topic before we move on to the last one? All right, I'll take that as a no. So let's jump to the last one. And this one I think is interesting. And this is, I got this from a tweet that Valat put out about sort of what's going on in Manila regarding coaching. This is Western expansion. Basically, Western teams are bringing these coaches. Fucking Mad, Cinderin, Heen, Pajkat, and 1437 are all going to Manila as coaches for Western teams. How big of an advantage will the Western teams have over Manila? When we're doing our compendium predictions, should we consider the fact that the pedigree of coaching seems so much higher coming out of the West?
Well, Chinese teams have had coaches for forever. I don't know about these current Chinese teams, but I'd assume that they do because I think that's just the way they do things in China.
Vici
it's
Game and
almost
Reborn, they have one. Wings has one. I believe Newbie has one as well.
so it's
They've
more
also
of
got
the West evening the playing field, if anything, because we've looked at China as terrifying for years. And maybe one of the reasons for that is because they have a coaching system that helps with strategy and team cohesion. And maybe now the West is finally catching up to that, because we saw coaches at Shanghai as well, and we saw China demolished for multiple reasons.
Now, I don't know China's coaches. I know that the CIS doesn't have the same coaching pedigree on their teams. Do the Chinese coaches have the same pedigree as these Western coaches, ex-pros seem to be bringing to the table, or is their definition of what a coach does a little bit different?
Vici Gaming Reborn's coach stood in for them at Star Ladder and
That's
won
true.
the tournament. Like Mikasa, that's the dude who did that. And then you have Fnatic, whose old coach. Who is their coach that it used to be? I don't remember who it is, but they've also got players that like sit on their bench sometimes. Yeah, net no longer. No, but Fnatic's coaching. I can't remember who it was, but they pull in ex-pros as well. So it really does depend upon what individual team it is. But I think that I would agree, maybe coaching catching up with the pedigree, but also the fact that they've had these extended relationships with the coaches, that to me feels like it's a very dynamic situation where you have to believe in the coach. And I would imagine that they wouldn't bring somebody in unless they believed in them, but I don't know. I don't think that it's going to be a huge issue. I think that coach teams are going to do really well, though.
I think one of the other differences is that in the past we've seen a coach brought for the event, where Secret was really the only Western team that had even full time as a coach, and then he would bring Balba, and T9 I think had a coach at TI, I believe. And these weren't people that were with the teams constantly, so they didn't have the mentality and the trust relationship built. What we're seeing now, Blitz has been working with Liquid for a while, right?
No, it's just because he didn't get invited to the majors. So as a caster, and he has a lot of free time on his hands. So he's just decided, why not help out Liquid, get a free ticket there. And don't get me wrong, the free ticket is not the incentive. It's actually to help out the team. And I think Blitz is going to do a fine job. I think all of the teams are going to benefit from it. It's just because I see how much coaches put in for the work. They put in a lot of hours. They stay up, a lot longer than the rest of the team. They will stay up there for 2-3 hours. They'll even draft against the captain of the team a lot of the times, where they help tremendously, and it can be understated how valuable they are.
But the point I was going for is that these coaches this time around seem like they have longer with the team. So Pycat and Misery have a huge history together. Theban obviously has a history with Puppy as a captain and with Secret in the past. Blitz has had time to work with Liquid. These aren't just event coaches where it's a player who didn't qualify that you're bringing on as a coach. It's someone you're really bringing on as a coach that you trust for outside of that event too. I think is more the mentality that's happened, which is mirroring the East, where you have a longer investment in a coach, which I think is very beneficial. I've talked about it before. Having a set of eyes that is not in the game itself can be unbelievably valuable, because no matter how much you trust and listen to your captain, if they missed a spell or if they did something wrong, and after the game they need to talk about what went wrong or how to change, you might still listen to them when they tell you how to change, but you would listen even better to an impartial third-party observer, or in this case, sixth-party observer. So coaches, like Ryuu said, bring a ton in because of the time investment. They can watch all the games. They can stay up late. They can draft against coaches and everything. But I think they're also really, really important for understanding how games went, and for players actually listening to each other and not getting annoyed with each other, because you have someone whose play is not being questioned and who can really judge how a game went from an outside perspective. And I think that mentally you're more willing to listen to that, and then that makes more effective growth as a team.
So apparently Reinessa was right. Got confirmation. Blitz was apparently with Liquid for a while now. And
he coached them right before the Shanghai major. They did a boot camp together, and then
I just didn't know if that was privileged or not, so I didn't want to say it. But.
Right.
No. Personally, I talked to Blitz sometimes, but I never knew that he actually did the coaching for Liquid, and I never saw him, tweet about it, and which I guess I'm just out of the loop there. As whereas, yes, I know 1437, his coaching job, it seems, he's really legit, and he's all about that. And then whereas we saw PyCat actually announce it, and where I've never seen Blitz actually announce it, but yep, you're right, I'm wrong. I'll take it. Take it.
All right, fair enough. But it does seem like the rise of the coaches in the West is getting bigger and bigger. Can we attribute that? We also saw Vlad tweeted out that coaches are being paid more than casters and analysts for these events. Is that because now we're finally free because the money's there to pursue coaching and say the paycheck's bigger? Or does pro pride mean you just take the role because you want to see a team win and be part of it?
Well, if you win, the paycheck's definitely bigger because different teams do it different ways. It's either percentage of prize pool or you get a base salary and then you get more based on how well the team does. So if you believe in the team that they're going to do well, it has to be more money, especially if it's percentage wise. On top of that, I always had this dream, when I started getting into Dota and the community and everything. Oh, I want to be a caster. It looks amazing. I went to TI and I watched them with production in their ear, sleep deprived, 18 hours a day, constantly miserable. And I went, oh my God, never do I want to do this.
Terrible.
So think about being a player, okay, and you're a player and you're not on a team right now. And you have the option of being an analytical caster and not sleeping at all and not having any of your own free time or the schedule up to you. Or you have the option of being a coach. You hang out with other players. You have a much more relaxed schedule. I mean, sure, you're working all the time, but it's all about the Dota. It is not about the bureaucracy. It is not about all of the stress or the other things. It is just about the game and your team, and that has to be so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I love casting. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, honestly, but the grind is real. Like this last week, there were 3 separate tournaments going on with 4 different regions, and me and Ryuu were doing it all. Like my sleep schedule, I would start casting at midnight, and then I would cast until 9 in the morning, and then I would sleep for 4 hours, and then I would cast from 2 p.m. for another 7 hours, and then I would sleep for 4 hours, and that was like my life for this whole week. So it's like the grind is so real for a caster. And you get paid, you come in, you do your work, and I wouldn't trade this style of life for anything in the world either. I have my wife that I get to see a good amount of time as well. But at the end of the day, you have to look at value given and also the relative talent pool that's out there as well. There are much fewer people that can do what a coach does. There are a lot of people that can cast, and also there's like the value that you bring to the broadcast is that you're creating drama, you're creating, happiness, whatever, you're building hype. And then what a coach is doing is you're actually giving them the opportunity and the ability to win a game. So relative to those 2 organizations, like the team versus the event organizer, the coach is like such a bigger role to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just going back to the point of Reinessa. It's all about the respect, and a lot of these players are respected, and they're going to be respected as 1437. And I guess maybe the unknown person right now is like SVG for EG. Like how buddy are they? Is that going to work out? I mean, we all want to see EG do well. We want to see all the teams do really well here, but unfortunately that can't happen. And whichever coach is going to succeed might be whoever puts in more work for the team, and we're going to see who wants it more, because I do think it can change from day to day. That's the best thing, right? When you have a coach, it's like, okay, well, you lost all your games today, but your coach can actually go back and watch those while you're actually in the game, put notes down, and then later on you can just talk about them. And then you don't have to have the team just like, like, hey, you did this wrong, It's the coach's job to like say, hey, we could all do this better as a team, and it's just no finger pointing. That's why a coach, I think, is very much needed in a lot of situations.
All right, that's the time we have for that topic. I do want to end this topic by saying all 4 of us are willing to stay up for 18 to 24 hours straight, cast as much as we need to, and talk constantly. Val, feel free to call us for TI at any time, or any major event, or even one in Vancouver. All right, that's it. I figured that'd be fun. All right, let's talk about the end of the show, guys. We do a lightning round. Everyone gets 1 minute to try and score as many points as they want to score. And the topic today is off of, it's something that you guys probably deal with on a regular basis, but it is not about Pro Dota. I want to give us something a little bit fresher today, so I want to hear your opinions on this, and it is about the ranked MMR system, okay? You guys, and I will say this, a lot of casters, personalities, analysts feel the pressure of ranked MMR as much as, if not more than average players, because sometimes your job is dependent upon maintaining a performance index, if that makes sense. So I'm sure that you guys look at your MMR and you like to play for it and get it. Do you think that it should be modified to be solo versus solo, or do you think that the current system is good the way that it is? I'm going to roll a random dice here. I've got a randomizer, and I'm going to see who gets to go first with their 1 minute. So think about your answers. And first up tonight is going to be Reinessa.
So I think that the current system is perfectly fine. I sure find parties annoying, but guess what? You have a party on your own team too. So it's just the roll of the dice, whether or not you end up with a good party or not. And I also get to be very privileged in saying this because I gained over 1,000 MMR in less than 3 weeks. So the ranked system can't be that bad. If you're good, you'll climb. So I really think that people are just looking for something to complain about. If you get rid of parties, well then guess what? Your queues are longer and people are going to whine about that too. So it seems like ranked is perfectly fine. Every system is going to have some kind of flaw, and I think people just need to accept it for what it is and just, be happy with this amazing game that we have and try and improve yourself instead of yelling at Valve and blaming them for your challenges.
I will give you that. Rock solid. All right. That's the end of Reinessa's rant. Let's go to, hit the button here. Ryuu, you're next. 1 minute on the clock.
So, as a former NEL, IXDL player, it's very disheartening when all your in-house leagues die eventually. And the next, it's very hard for the newer talents to just be like, hey, I wanna play captain's mode all the time, and I want to get better. I want to meet more friends, because matchmaking is very toxic at times. You have these people that you want to just mute constantly, and you have these situations where you just want to play with people. You want to meet them more in a better environment and raise your skill level there. Matchmaking points don't really mean anything besides ego. Sure, it does tell you who is a really good player and all. Look at Weehall. That's a very, very, not Weehall, sorry. 9,000 matchmaking points, guys. You're going to help me out, right?
Nope.
Miracle?
Miracle. There we go.
There it is.
See, I'm blowing it up, guys. But see, it's that's a very great accomplishment, and don't take that away from him. But it's not the same as an in-house league. You can make money. You can make better friends, I would say. And it's just very disheartening not to have that.
I 100% agree with the idea that in-house leagues were awesome, especially even breakout casters. A lot of people who are casting nowadays got their start with in-house leagues, stuff like that. So definitely missed. Gangsta, you got 1 minute starting now.
I don't think that anything is going to change the fact, as far as casters are concerned, where people are going to talk shit. Ryuu is double my MMR, and sometimes people are like, God, Ryuu's game knowledge is so terrible. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? When they're like, Lyrical knows what he's talking about more. I'm like, no, I
just don't put these words out there into the world. And so for me, the most important thing about MMR is that people are playing the game, people are enjoying the game. This is a topic that we didn't get to touch on very much, but sort of viewership and things like that, that's driven by people actually playing the game. And that was how StarCraft 2 died, was that everybody didn't want a ladder because it was a stressful ass situation. I know, because I was there as well, and people wanted to play custom games, people wanted to have fun. If you're going to change the MMR system for Valve, if you're going to change the main mode with which people play Dota 2, change it so that people are having fun, not necessarily anything to do with whatever numbers. That shit doesn't matter. What matters is making the game fun.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's the time, and nobody is using their soapboxes, so we'll go straight to the grand finale, counting the points. Let's see where we're at right now. End of the game, coming in third place. He probably could have done better. I think you got a little brain fart going a couple of times there. 23 points is Ryuu, but there's good news. Ryu's actually coming back next week. We already chatted about it. So he's going to be here with a chance to redeem himself, which it looks like he is going to need. So I'm excited about that. Second place is Lyrical Dota. Did a great job coming in at 25 points. First place, the winner of the final soapbox, is Reinessa Gaming, using your first-hand knowledge of, I think, what makes coaches love what they do to score some extra points and takes the lead home at 28. So congratulations. You have 1 minute to talk about anything you damn well please. Feel free to start whenever.
Okay, well, Lyrical made me think of it again. Assigning worth based on MMR. I do it to myself quite heavily as a streamer, especially a female. I feel like my MMR is really, really important for people to take me seriously. So getting 4K was like the greatest achievement of my life, which is stupid because I love this game and I have fun and I can know things that an 8K knows and my hands won't do it fast enough, clearly. But I think that judging self-worth by MMR is irritating. I don't think it's going to go away. But ranked is fun and it is an amazing thing that you can really, really enjoy. And I think no matter what, people are always going to either call you stupid or praise you, depending on what kind of impression they want to make with you. And people who think too much about their MMR and how the system needs to be changed are looking at it the wrong way. You need to have fun. You need to do it for yourself and for yourself to improve. And sometimes losing can mean a huge improvement. So I don't think the system needs any changes. I think people just need to kind of change their mindset about it and remember that it's a video game. It
is just a video game, but it is a video game that every single one of us plays. I was going to say way too much of, but fuck that. Just enough of. Guys, this has been Around the Pit. Thank you for tuning in. A big shout out to our guests, Lyrical, Ryuu, and Reinessa for joining us. You can find them on @Lyrical Dota, @Ryuu Dota, that's 2 U's on Ryuu, and @Reinessa Gaming. I'm going to spell it because it's a tough one. REINESSA Gaming. If you can't spell gaming, go somewhere else. That big shout out to Razer, Pro-Built Systems, and of course, Aces Republic of Gamers for making the show possible. You can find me at Toffee's TV, but I want to end with a chance for you guys to say one final word. If there's a project you're working on or something that you feel like we should know about, please feel free to share that with us. Lyrical, anything coming up on your plate?
I'm just going to start streaming more. This was a crazy-ass week of casting, and it's time to get back into a little bit more casual relaxation, trying to build back up the stream again, because it's a hell of a lot of fun. I love doing it, and it's also, more importantly, time to go watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, good luck with that. That makes me sad all the time. Ryuu, any thoughts from you? Or where are you going?
Well, I'm going to actually, the same thing as Lyrical. I'm going to try streaming a lot more, selling myself out. You know, maybe me and Lyrical will catch up and play together or something.
Play
but
Overwatch. Let's do it.
Yeah. I don't know if I can afford that. I'm poor here. Maybe if Toffee starts paying me for going on the show. I'm just kidding. But all jokes aside, it was really fun. Thanks for having me. And like you said, I'll be back next week, hopefully, to talk and lose again.
Nice. You could win. I believe in you. I believe in you.
I have a gun to my head the whole time, and I just or to my foot, and I shoot it myself in the foot all the time. There's no way out of it. I dig myself holes. I can't climb out. No hope.
Nice. All right. Last but not least, Reinessa, what do you got on the docket? What do we need to know about?
You should expect a new TLDR soon that's going to sum up all of the results up until Manila. So for those of you time zone challenged, whatever, you can have an idea of what's been going on in Dota while you've been working and all that stuff, so you know what results are and what to expect from teams. And then second one, I'm always going to say this, I'm going to say it every single time. If you see content you like, put it on Reddit, upvote it, please. For the love of God, there's a lot of amazing content and articles out there. Please support them.
All right, make sure you check it out, guys. And one last, I will plug this. It's a nonprofit thing that a bunch of us content creators have put together in an effort to provide some mindless programming for your second monitor. It is twitch.tv/D2BN. Basically, it is a 9 to 12 hour playlist, depending on how often the new episodes come in. That is on a loop, 24/7, updated with all of the top content creators. A lot of really good stuff. If you like talking head shows like this, if you like animated shorts, if you like spoof songs, all those things are on there, and they're running 24/7. So if you're looking for something to just kind of throw on the second monitor to have while you're working, or just sort of settle back on the couch and watch as you fall asleep, Check that out, twitch.tv D2BN. Nonprofit, no income coming off of it. Twitch has provided us with quality control, so you can set it to mobile if you're watching on your phone. That said, though, it's just a chance to sort of bridge that gap between content creators trying to survive on YouTube and the Twitch streaming environment, as they tend not to cross paths as often as we'd like. That said, guys, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for tuning in to Around the Pit. I'm Toffees, and as always, Toffees out.
You just ended already?